Tonight, I want to share something with you that I believe can completely change the way you see success. Please write this down. I want to talk to you about the 10 keys for personal success. I want to remind you that our focus in this class is not just about success for the sake of achieving wealth or status. It is about the kind of success that gives you influence. Influence is the real goal. The concept I want you to grasp tonight is that true influence is born from authentic success. And this is what this school of influence is about. Think about it for a moment. Influence comes when your life demonstrates a level of achievement that others cannot ignore. For example, LeBron James, one of the greatest basketball players in the world today, was once just a boy from a high school team. Yet his success in sports elevated him to a celebrated status. The word celebrate is the root of celebrity. A celebrity is simply someone who a majority of people celebrate, and because of that, they gain influence. LeBron's skill on the court created doors of influence in areas far beyond basketball. That's the power of success. It multiplies your voice, your reach, and your impact. Another example is Kevin Durant. Just last night, he received the MVP award, the most valuable player in basketball. Until that moment, many people did not know his personal story. But as soon as he stood on that stage, speaking about his mother raising him as a single parent and the sacrifices she made, his influence expanded. Suddenly, millions were listening to him. Why? Because success gave him the platform. I want you to understand this principle. When you succeed in one area of life, you naturally gain influence in many other areas. Success attracts attention. Success earns respect. Success makes people want to follow you. And the ultimate example of this is Jesus Christ himself. Jesus grew up in a place called Nazareth. In his day, Nazareth was barely a settlement. Archaeological studies show it had maybe 11 small houses built around a single well. It was an unknown, insignificant place. That is why when he began his ministry, people asked, can anything good come out of Nazareth? They could not imagine someone of influence coming from such a small village. But Jesus understood something we often miss. Success begins with solving problems. That is the principle. If you want to become successful, stop chasing money or fame. Start solving problems. That's what people pay attention to. When a basketball team is losing, what do? They go looking for players who can solve their problem. The Miami Heat, for instance, invested in 4 top players because they had one major problem. They had never won a championship. The players they hired were not just athletes, they were problem solvers. And so Jesus, before his ministry began, looked for a problem to solve. He found it one morning at the shore, where 3 fishermen sat beside their empty boats. They had worked all night and caught nothing. These were not amateurs, they were professionals, but they had failed. Jesus stepped into their situation and solved their problem using his gift. What was his gift? Dominion. He gave them instructions that didn't make sense in natural terms. Cast your net again, but this time in the wrong place, at the wrong depth, at the wrong time. Yet when they obeyed, the results were overwhelming. In that moment, Peter and the others looked at him and asked, what manner of man is this? In other words, you're not like other men. You just separated yourself from the crowd. And that's the essence of success. It separates you from the average. It sets you apart. Immediately they celebrated him. He became a kind of celebrity in their eyes because he solved a problem they could not solve on their own. And no wonder they left their nets, shut down their fishing business, and followed him. Success gave him influence, and influence gave him followers. Influence is simply the capacity to make other people listen to you or to follow you. Influence is when people decide to change their priorities for yours. Think about that. When others are willing to drop what they are doing in order to join what you are doing, you have influence. This is why we must study success so carefully, because success and influence are inseparably linked. You cannot have influence without success, and true success always produces influence. Now tonight, I want us to go deeper. I want us to look at the very foundation of personal success, because if you misunderstand this, you will spend your whole life chasing after the wrong things. The key we're going to study now is the role of laws and rules in personal success. Please write that down. The role of laws and rules in personal success. There's one major truth I want you to leave with tonight. There is a difference between a law and a rule, and unless you learn to distinguish the two, you will limit your potential. In fact, rules can often stop you from being successful, but laws are what guarantee success. So let me tell you something important. If you want to be successful, sometimes you must break the rules, but never the laws. Your failure in life or your lack of success is often directly connected to the fact that you have been obeying rules instead of laws. That is the danger. And tonight we will begin to see why laws are the key to predictable, lasting success. If you want to be successful, you must learn the critical difference between rules and laws. Many people confuse the two, and that confusion is why they struggle in life. Rules and laws may look similar on the surface, but in reality, they are worlds apart. A rule is temporary. A rule is made by men. A rule is cultural, flexible, and often biased. Rules are created by societies, institutions, or even families to regulate behavior, but rules change with time. What is a rule in one generation is forgotten in the next. What is a rule in one country may not even exist in another. Rules are not permanent. But a law that is different. A law is not man-made. A law is built into creation itself. A law is unchanging, universal, and constant. A law works whether you believe in it or not, whether you agree with it or not, and whether you are aware of it or not. That's the power of a law. It is embedded in the fabric of life. Think of gravity. Gravity is not a suggestion. Gravity is not a cultural preference. Gravity is a law. It applies to you if you are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, believer or unbeliever. If you step off a 10-story building, gravity does not ask you for your background before it pulls you down. That's how laws work. They are consistent, impartial, and unavoidable. Now here is the problem. Most people build their lives around rules, not laws. They follow traditions, customs, and systems created by society. They obey what everyone else says is normal or expected. But success does not come from following rules. Success comes from understanding and obeying laws. Rules are often designed to protect the system, not to release your potential. Rules may keep you safe in the eyes of society, but they may also limit you from becoming who you were created to be. Laws, on the other hand, are given by God to guarantee success. Laws are not restrictive, they are protective. They are principles designed to help you function at your highest level. Let me give you an example. Birds were created to fly, fish were created to swim. That is their natural law. A fish does not need to go to school to learn how to swim. It simply obeys the law of its nature. If you take that fish out of water, it struggles, not because it is weak, but because it is outside the law of its design. In the same way, you and I were created to function under specific laws. When you discover and align yourself with those laws, success becomes natural, almost automatic. But when you live by man-made rules that contradict the laws of your design, you suffocate, you feel frustrated, you feel trapped, and worst of all, you remain average, never rising into the fullness of your purpose. This is why Jesus often broke the rules, but he never broke the laws. Think about that. He healed people on the Sabbath, and the religious leaders accused him of breaking the rules. But he was not breaking a law, he was fulfilling one. The law of love is greater than the rule of ritual. The law of life is higher than the rule of tradition. He was teaching us a principle: do not confuse the two. Rules can be broken, but laws cannot. If you want to succeed in life, you must learn to discern which is which. Ask yourself, am I being limited by rules that were created by people, or am I aligning myself with the laws that God built into creation? That question could change everything about your future. Many people remain poor, not because they are lazy, but because they are following the wrong set of rules. Society tells them, go to school, get a degree, find a safe job, and work for 40 years. That's a rule. But the law of wealth is different. The law of wealth says, multiply what you have, manage resources faithfully, invest wisely, and add value to others. That's why you can find people with no formal education who are wealthy, and people with multiple degrees who are broke. Rules don't guarantee success. Laws do. When you look at history, every great breakthrough, every major success story came because someone dared to challenge the rules while obeying a higher law. The Wright brothers broke the rules of transportation, but they obeyed the laws of aerodynamics. Thomas Edison broke the rules of tradition, but he obeyed the laws of electricity. Every innovator, every world changer discovered a law that others had ignored. This is what separates leaders from followers, influencers from spectators. Leaders are not afraid to question the rules, but they are careful to never violate the laws. They understand that laws are eternal, while rules are temporary. Now here's where it becomes personal. If you want your life to shift from average to extraordinary, you must start identifying the rules that are holding you back. What traditions, what cultural expectations, what man-made systems are you obeying that are keeping you small? At the same time, you must commit to discovering the laws that guarantee your success, because once you align with them, no one can stop you. Not culture, not government, not even your own background. This is why I say success is predictable. Failure is also predictable. If you violate laws, failure is guaranteed. If you obey laws, success is guaranteed. It is that simple. Life is not a mystery. Life is a system, and the key to mastering that system is understanding the difference between rules and law. As we continue, I want you to keep this phrase in your mind. Rules may limit you, but laws will liberate you. And in the next part, we will begin to uncover some of those specific laws that God Himself designed for personal success. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. That was the very first assignment given to humanity, long before the idea of money, nations, or even religion. The very first responsibility entrusted to man was management. This tells us something critical. God is more interested in how you manage what He gives you than in what you ask Him for. The greatest test of whether you are ready for more is not how loudly you pray or how passionately you desire, but how faithfully you manage what you already have. Many people pray for increase. They pray for more resources, more opportunities, more wealth. Yet the principle of the kingdom is clear. God will never entrust you with what you are asking for until you prove you can handle what you already possess. The problem is not lack of supply. God has unlimited resources. The problem is mismanagement. Every crisis of lack is not truly a crisis of provision, but a crisis of stewardship. Think about it. Adam did not receive another garden until he proved capable of tending the first one. That is a principle for all of us. Look at the world around you. Most problems nations face are not because of lack of resources. Many countries are rich in natural resources, yet the people are poor. Why? Because of mismanagement. Leaders waste, steal, or misallocate. The issue is never scarcity. The issue is management. It is the same in your personal life. You say you do not have enough money, yet if you look carefully, perhaps you are not managing well the little you have. You may waste hours every week scrolling, complaining, or worrying. That is mismanagement of time. You may waste opportunities to learn, opportunities to connect, opportunities to grow. That is mismanagement of opportunities. If you cannot handle small opportunities, God will not entrust you with larger ones. This is why Jesus taught the parable of the talents. One man received 5 talents, another 2, another 1. Each was given according to his ability. Notice this. God never gives you beyond what He believes you can manage. The man with 5 doubled it. The man with 2 doubled it. Both received the same commendation. Well done, good and faithful servant. But the man with 1 talent buried it. He lost even the little he had. The lesson is simple. If you mismanage the small, you disqualify yourself from the greater. God will take what you fail to manage and give it to someone who knows what to do with it. That is why Jesus said, whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. He was not talking about unfairness. He was explaining management. Success in the kingdom is not measured by how much you possess, but by how well you manage what you have been entrusted with. Management is proof of faithfulness. Faithfulness is the currency of trust in the kingdom. When you are faithful with little, you are positioned to be faithful with much. That is why stewardship is greater than ownership. You do not own anything in this life. Everything is God's. You are a steward, a manager. Your body, your mind, your resources, your relationships, your environment, they do not belong to you. They are on loan from God. How you treat them determines whether heaven can entrust you with more. Think about your own life right now. Are you managing your finances wisely, or are you spending without vision? Are you managing your health, or are you abusing your body with neglect? Are you managing your relationships, or are you letting bitterness and carelessness damage them? Are you managing your gifts and talents, or are they lying dormant because of fear and laziness? These are the questions stewardship forces us to ask. God's kingdom operates on laws, not luck. The law of management is one of the most unbreakable. If you manage well, increase is inevitable. If you mismanage, loss is guaranteed. It is not about prayer alone. You can fast for 40 days and nights, but if you cannot manage your life, the heavens are closed to you. God is not moved by desperation. He is moved by preparation, and preparation is proven in stewardship. This is why the Garden of Eden was a classroom. God placed Adam there not just to enjoy, but to learn responsibility. Eden was a test of management, and today your life is your Eden. Your family, your work, your gifts, your time, these are your garden. What you do with them reveals whether you are ready for more. Management is not glamorous. It is discipline. It is accountability. It is order, but it is also the key that unlocks abundance. Because once God sees that you are trustworthy in one area, He can release new levels into your hands. So here is the truth. Wealth in the kingdom is not first about money, but about management. You must master the art of stewarding what God has already placed in your care. Only then will you qualify for the increase you are praying for. Now let's go a little deeper into one of the most important distinctions you will ever understand in your life. The difference between being poor, being rich, and being wealthy. Most people think those are just three levels of money, like zero money, then some money, then a lot of money. But that's not really true. Poverty is not the absence of money. Poverty is the absence of ideas. A poor person can have $1 in their pocket and still be poor because their mind is empty. They are looking for someone else to create their future. They are waiting for charity. They are hoping for help. Poverty is not about the balance in your account. It is about the lack of creativity and vision inside of you. That's why you can give money to a poor person, and very often within a short time, they will return to poverty, because the issue was never the money. The issue was the mind. Now, rich people are very different. A rich person is someone who has discovered how to exchange their time, their energy, or their talent for money in a way that gives them more than they need. Rich people can buy nice cars, nice houses, they can go on vacations, they can live comfortably. But here is the danger. A rich person still depends on the system. They are one crisis away from losing it all. They still depend on their business, their job, their investments, their brand. They are better than poor, but they are not yet free. They have money, but money still controls them. They are often stressed, anxious, afraid of losing what they worked for. But wealthy, now that is another level. Wealthy is not measured by how much money you have. Wealth is measured by how long you could maintain your current lifestyle if you stopped working today. A wealthy person has systems, they have structures, they have streams of income that flow even while they sleep. Wealth is the ability to control time, to be free from the constant demand of survival. A wealthy person doesn't just consume, they create. They don't just work in the system, they design the system. They don't just own money, they own influence. And with influence, they shape culture, they shape nations, they shape generations. And I want you to understand something. Wealth is never an accident. Nobody stumbles into wealth. You can stumble into money, you can win a lottery, you can inherit riches, but you cannot stumble into wealth. Wealth comes by law. Wealth comes by principle. Wealth comes by obeying the systems God built into creation. And that is why Jesus said, the poor you will always have with you. Because as long as there are people who refuse to learn the laws, who refuse to discipline themselves, who refuse to invest in their minds, poverty will continue. And the sad thing is, many of them are religious. They sing, they pray, they shout, but they don't study laws, and so they stay poor. Listen carefully. If you want to move from poverty to riches and then from riches to wealth, you must change the way you think about success. Success is not about comparison, it is about completion. Success is not about impressing others, it is about fulfilling the purpose God gave you. You can be rich and still be a failure. You can have cars and houses and followers and still be a failure in the kingdom of God if you are not doing the assignment you were born to do. But when you step into that assignment, when you discover and develop your gift, when you solve problems for others, wealth will be attracted to you. Not because you chase it, but because you have aligned yourself with law. Let me tell you something important. Wealthy people are not wealthy because they are lucky. They are wealthy because they obey principles that most people ignore. They understand discipline. They understand patience. They understand vision. They know that shortcuts always end up costing more. They know that consistency compounds. They know that influence is more powerful than money. Rich people buy things. Wealthy people buy time. Rich people show off what they own. Wealthy people quietly build what cannot be destroyed. Which one do you want to be? Because God did not design you to remain poor, and He did not design you just to be rich. He designed you to be wealthy, to have dominion, to be fruitful, to multiply, to fill the earth, to subdue it, and to rule. That is the original mandate, and that is the true definition of success. So tonight, as we continue, I want you to stop thinking about success as having more than someone else. Stop thinking about it as money in the bank. Success is doing what you were born to do, and wealth is the result of doing it so well, so consistently, and so faithfully that generations are blessed by your obedience. Remember, laws guarantee results. If you learn them, if you apply them, if you live by them, you will not just escape poverty. You will not just taste riches. You will live in wealth, and wealth will give you influence, and with influence, you will change the world. Let's move forward. We said that success is not an accident. Wealth is not luck. It is all about obeying principles. So the question becomes, what are these principles? What are these laws that guarantee success? And I want you to listen carefully, because the difference between where you are right now and where you want to be is not money, it is not opportunity, it is not even talent. The difference is knowledge of laws and the discipline to apply them. That is why God told Joshua, if you meditate on the book of the law day and night, if you obey everything in it, then you will make your way prosperous and you will have good success. Did you notice? God didn't say, I will make your way prosperous. He said, you. That means it is in your hands. It is in your choices. It is in your obedience. Now here is the first principle you must understand. Discipline. Nothing in life will work for you until you learn self-control. Discipline is the ability to govern yourself, to tell yourself no when everything in you wants to say yes. Success is not about what you start, it is about what you finish. Many people begin with passion, with energy, with excitement, but only the disciplined complete the race. Discipline separates the dreamers from the doers. Discipline separates the talkers from the achievers. Without discipline, your gift will never grow. Without discipline, your ideas will never become reality. And here is the truth. Discipline is painful at the beginning, but it produces pleasure at the end. Lack of discipline feels good at the beginning, but it produces pain at the end. Which one are you choosing every day? The second law is the law of time. Time is the currency of life. Whatever you trade your time for, that is what you are truly purchasing. Rich people and poor people both have 24 hours, but the way they use those hours determines their future. If you waste your time, you waste your life. If you invest your time, you multiply your life. That is why Scripture says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Wise people know that time is life, so they refuse to waste it. Foolish people think they have unlimited time, so they spend it carelessly. If you want to be successful, stop saying, I don't have time. You do have time, but you are spending it on the wrong things. Time invested in your purpose always multiplies. Time wasted on distractions always diminishes you. The third law is the law of consistency. Greatness is never built in a moment. It is built in habits. Daily habits create destiny. It is not what you do occasionally that changes your life. It is what you do consistently. Pray once and nothing changes, but live in prayer daily and you become transformed. Exercise once and you see no results, but stay consistent and your body changes. Work on your gift once and nothing happens, but practice every day and your gift becomes excellence. That is why wealthy people value systems more than events. Poor people chase moments. Wealthy people build rhythms. If you want success, don't focus on doing something great once. Focus on doing something small faithfully every day. That is how mountains move. The fourth law is the law of focus. You can never become great in life until you learn to say no to the many good things, so you can say yes to the one right thing. Focus is the ability to direct your energy toward your purpose and refuse to be distracted by noise. Success requires concentration. A magnifying glass can burn paper only when it focuses light into one spot. Your life will only catch fire when you focus all your gifts, all your energy, all your time into one assignment. That is why many people remain average. They are too distracted, doing a little bit of everything, but never mastering anything. Influence is not given to generalists. Influence is given to specialists. You must focus until you master, and once you master, the world will look for you. And the fifth law I want to mention now is the law of courage. Every dream will demand risk. Every assignment will require you to face fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward in spite of fear. Success always asks the question, will you trust the vision more than you trust your comfort? Will you step into the unknown, believing that God's laws are faithful? Remember, Peter never walked on water until he left the boat. As long as you stay in the boat of safety, you will never experience the miracle of walking in your calling. Courage is the bridge between the idea in your mind and the success in your life. Without courage, discipline, time, consistency, and focus remain unused. Now imagine what your life would look like if you lived by these 5 laws every single day. Imagine the person you would become, the influence you would have, the wealth you would attract, because influence follows success and success follows obedience to laws. You see the connection? It is predictable. Failure is predictable. Success is predictable. Which one are you programming into your future by the laws you obey today? We already covered discipline, time, consistency, focus, and courage. Let's go deeper. The next law is the law of creativity. Creativity is not just for artists, it is for every human being. To create means to bring into reality what has never existed before. Success demands creativity because problems never announce themselves with easy solutions. Every problem is an opportunity hidden inside a challenge, and creativity is the key that unlocks it. You were created in the image of God, and God is the ultimate creator. That means means you also have the ability to imagine, to innovate, to produce something new. Never say, I am not creative. Creativity is not a gift given to a few. It is a law written into the DNA of all of us. The moment you refuse to copy, the moment you dare to think differently, you step into creativity. And here is the truth. The world never remembers those who imitate. It only celebrates those who create. The next law is the law of imagination. Imagination is the womb of the future. Whatever you cannot see, you cannot seize. Everything created twice, first in the mind, then in reality. The phone you hold in your hand was once only in someone's imagination. The building you sit in right now was first imagined before it was built. If you cannot imagine your future, then you cannot create it. That is why God constantly gave people visions, dreams, and pictures. He knew that until they could see it, they would never pursue it. What are you imagining about yourself? Are you imagining limitation, or are you imagining possibility? If you keep seeing yourself small, weak, and defeated, your life will always shrink to match your imagination. But if you dare to imagine greatness, your mind begins to expand, your spirit begins to align, and your actions begin to move in that direction. Imagination is the preview of your destiny. Another law is the law of hard work. There is no substitute for it. The secret nobody likes to hear is this: success is always hiding inside labor. People admire the glory but never see the grind. They see the championship but not the hours of sweat behind it. Work is the divine design of God. Adam was given work before he was given a wife, before he was given a family, before he was given anything else. That means work is not a curse, it is a calling. If you hate work, you will hate success, because they are inseparable. Hard work is not about exhausting yourself without wisdom. It is about applying consistent effort to develop your gift, to serve others, to solve problems. And here is the paradox. Hard work eventually makes life easier, while laziness eventually makes life harder. Choose your pain wisely, the pain of discipline and work, or the pain of regret and failure. Let's add another law, the law of confidence. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is the assurance that you are functioning in your assignment, that you are carrying something valuable, that your gift matters. Without confidence, your ideas will never see daylight. Confidence gives your voice authority. Confidence makes others trust you. Think about it. People don't always follow the most talented person. They follow the most confident person, because confidence communicates belief, and belief is contagious. But here is the truth. Confidence is built, not given. It grows when you practice your gift, when you face your fears, when you stand up even after you fall. Every time you act in spite of fear, confidence is built in your spirit. The more confident you become, the more influential you become, because influence begins with believing in yourself before anyone else does. The next law is the law of ideas. Ideas rule the world. Every invention, every company, every nation, every movement started with an idea. An idea is more powerful than money, because money will run out, but ideas create money. An idea is more powerful than weapons, because weapons can destroy, but ideas can transform generations. The question is not, do you have ideas? The question is, are you paying attention to them? Are you nurturing them? Are you bold enough to act on them? One idea can change your entire life, but only if you respect it enough to develop it. Ideas come when your mind is free, when you give space to think, when you read, when you learn, when you expose yourself to new experiences. Protect your ideas, write them down, test them, refine them. One single idea acted upon is more valuable than 1,000 ideas ignored. And then there is the law of motivation. Motivation is the inner drive that keeps you moving when everything around you says stop. But motivation is not a feeling, it is a decision. If you wait to feel motivated, you will never move. Motivation comes after you start, not before. The moment you take action, motivation grows. That is why successful people do not depend on moods. They act, and their actions create motivation. And here is the secret. Motivation runs out, but discipline keeps you going. Motivation gets you started, but discipline gets you finished. So do not live only on motivation, live on principles. Let motivation be the spark, but let discipline be the engine. Can you see how these laws connect? Creativity gives you new solutions. Imagination gives you vision. Hard work builds your foundation. Confidence makes you visible. Ideas open doors. Motivation pushes you forward. Together they form a chain that cannot be broken. If you apply them, your life cannot stay the same. Because laws do not lie. They do not play favorites. They work for anyone who works them. What is success if you gain the whole world but lose yourself? That is the question we must settle before we talk about wealth, before we talk about money, before we talk about legacy. Because true wealth is not simply what you accumulate, it is who you become, and more importantly, who you serve. I have sat with powerful people, men and women who had everything money could buy. Their names were on buildings, their accounts were overflowing, their signatures could change nations. But I have also seen emptiness in their eye, because the kingdom reminds us life does not consist in the abundance of things. Life consists in alignment with purpose. So let me tell you something very clear. Wealth without purpose is poverty in disguise. You can have all the cars, all the houses, all the properties, but if your wealth dies with you, you have failed. That's why the greatest measure of success is not what you own, it's what outlives you, legacy. Think for a moment. Every great man or woman we honor today is remembered not for their bank accounts, but for their contribution. Steve Jobs is not remembered for his billions, but for the ideas that shape technology. Nelson Mandela is not remembered for wealth, but for freedom. Jesus himself is remembered not for possessions, but for redemption. What will you be remembered for? You see, in the kingdom, we must always think generationally. The Bible says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Not just money, but wisdom, values, vision, principles. Generational wealth means you plant trees under whose shade you may never see. It means you prepare paths your grandchildren will walk on, even if you're not there to guide them. That is true greatness. But here is the danger. Many live as if everything is about now, consume now, enjoy now, spend now. They live with a me-first mentality, and when they are gone, their children inherit debt, division, and despair. That is not kingdom living, that is failure. The kingdom calls us to leave blessings, not burdens. And let me give you this revelation. Wealth is not measured by what you keep, but by what you release. You will never be remembered for what you saved. You will only be remembered for what you gave. Think about that. When your funeral comes, no one will talk about your bank account. They will talk about your love, your kindness, your generosity, your impact. That is community wealth, generational wealth, eternal wealth. So stop chasing money, stop chasing things. Start creating value, start creating solutions, start creating impact. Because wealth in the kingdom is never about possession, it is always about multiplication. Ideas multiplied, influence multiplied, relationships multiplied, legacy multiplied. This is why wealthy people never panic in crisis. Poor people cry for money, rich people show off their things, but wealthy people think, they create. They strategize, they innovate, because they understand that wealth is not in the bank, wealth is in the mind. If you lose money, you can get it back. If you lose things, you can buy more. But if you lose ideas, if you lose vision, if you lose purpose, you are bankrupt. The kingdom is a government of ideas. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was not simply letters on a page. It was the expressed idea of God. And that idea created everything you see, which means the most powerful thing you carry is not money, but an idea. God placed within you seeds of creativity, seeds of innovation, seeds of transformation. But seeds do nothing unless you plant them. So I ask you, what ideas have you been hiding? What dreams have you buried because of fear? What solutions are locked inside you because you keep waiting for money? Let me tell you, you don't need money to start. You need vision. Money follows ideas. Resources chase solution. Provision is always waiting on vision. This is why the kingdom economy is different. The world says save, store, protect. The kingdom says create, multiply, release. Poor people collect money, rich people store money, but wealthy people generate money. They multiply. They use it to shape culture, to build families, to bless communities, to create legacy. That is what kingdom wealth looks like. And if you will understand this, if you will truly grasp that money is not the goal but the tool, you will be free. Free from fear, free from greed, free from comparison. Because your life will no longer be measured by how much you have, but by how much you give, by how much you build, by how much you leave behind. That is the wealth of the kingdom. And now, my friends, let me bring this home. The kingdom does not measure success by what you own, but by what you create, what you give, and what you leave behind. The world counts money, possessions, status, but the kingdom counts impact, influence, and legacy. I want you to hear this clearly. You were created to leave a mark. Your life was never meant to be ordinary. God did not make you to live small, to follow the crowd, or to be comfortable in mediocrity. He made you to be extraordinary. But extraordinary does not come from desire alone. Extraordinary comes from obedience, discipline, and alignment with the laws of success. So here is the challenge. Ask yourself today, what is my idea? What problem can I solve that no one else can solve? Where can I create value that will change the lives of others? Remember the story of Joseph, who turned prison into a throne. Remember Jesus, who turned a little village into a movement that changed the world. Success begins with identifying a problem, applying your gifts, and moving boldly to solve it. You must decide today, will I live small, or will I live to fulfill the purpose for which God created me? Will I chase money, or will I chase vision? Will I settle for applause from the world, or will I build something that lasts beyond my lifetime? Generational wealth begins here. Community wealth begins here. Spiritual, intellectual, social, physical, and relational wealth all begin here in your heart, in your mind, in your actions. And remember this, money is temporary, influence is eternal, ideas are immortal, your legacy is forever. So I challenge you now, plant your ideas, release your gifts, multiply your resources, and invest in people. Mentor someone, teach someone, solve a problem that others cannot solve. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for approval. Do not wait for resources you do not have. Start where you are with what God has given you. Because the kingdom rewards those who obey laws, who work with wisdom, and who live with vision. And the reward is not just wealth, it is purpose fulfilled, lives transformed, and a name remembered for generation. Let this be your declaration today. I will not live small. I will not waste my life. I will create, multiply, and leave a legacy. I will be wealthy in every sphere of life, spiritually, socially, intellectually, physically, relationally, in influence, and for generations to come. Go out and live with courage. Go out and live with wisdom. Go out and live with vision, because your life is not yours. It is a gift, a calling, and a mandate to change the world. Remember, true kingdom wealth is not what you keep, but what you give, what you create, and the lives you touch. Step into your purpose, fulfill your assignment, leave a legacy that will be celebrated long after you are gone, and the world will know you were here and you changed everything. Stand now, speak these words over your life, declare them, live them. Be a force of change, a vessel of influence, a kingdom builder, because the kingdom has no room for small thinking. The kingdom honors bold action, and the kingdom rewards those who obey the laws of success. This is your moment. This is your call. This is your legacy. Go forth and be wealthy, not just in money, but in life, in purpose, and in eternity.